Hey everyone, welcome to my podcast. This is Tina Spangler with TLC Barrels in Keystone Heights, Florida. And as most of you know that are watching, I've been doing this podcast for about 5 years for my online coaching group. It's always been a Q&A podcast, but I've recently added interviews. Hold on one second. Woodrow, Jess, the puppies. Every time I start an interview, the puppies act out. But I can't put them in another room where they'll bark, so they'll be good though. All right. So, anyways, the goal I've always had for the Q&A podcast for the online coaching group is to help horses and riders have better relationships, and that's why I decided to add the interviews as well. Because as you're chasing your goals and dreams, I just feel like the more we can learn and educate ourselves, possibly learn new or better ways to do things, or possibly outside of the box. Not every horse can be treated the same. And so I'm really excited about today's podcast. So, let's see here. Let's go ahead and get started. And, hi, Sheree. How are you?
Hello.
Hello. So I'm going to tell everybody a little bit about you, and then we're going to get started. I have a lot of good questions for you, and I'm just excited to get going. So this is Sheree Steele, and Sheree, do you live in Plant City or Lakeland, Florida?
No, I moved. I lived in Plant City most of my life, but 3 years ago now, we moved to Fort Meade, Florida.
Oh, Fort Meade now. Okay. Yeah, you were there forever down there in Plant City. Okay. So you're in Fort Meade.
I grew up there, yeah.
Okay. So Sheree Steele, her business is Horsepower, but I've known Sheree for, at least 24 years. That when I first met you and Amy was through MBHA District 6. I remember Amy was running, she was just a older teen, and she was winning everywhere with Truckle Trek. And I think that's when I first met you guys. And then, of course, around 2005.
Good times.
Yeah, those are wonderful times, District 6, and watching you and Amy. And Amy was setting arena records on track, all kinds of good stuff going on. But those are really good times. I think I was running Belle and Buddy and Callie back then when I first moved up here. But then in 2005, you started the Horsepower business, and you actually went to 3 years of school with Dr. Peggy Fleming. And her school, if I get this right, and you can always correct me later, is the IVAT. IVAT, and that was a 3-year continuous thing, not all at once, and you also did over that period 6 years with the New England School of Homeopathy. And so you've had a ton of education. Not only do you do the chiropractic, the last, what has it been, 20 years now that you've been doing it?
Almost
20 years.
Almost
I know,
20 years, yeah.
Yeah, a long time.
Time flies when you're having fun.
Yeah, it does. And we've been friends for a good, I've known you this long, but you've been working on my horses for at least 15 or more years. And I've always loved our friendship. You know, we'd go to lunch and stuff around after the chiropractic work and such. But you do so much, and you just made my life so much easier, because as a trainer and a competitor, you would get the horses feeling so good that it just made training easier. It made competing easier. The horses were happier. They could do what I was asking them to do. And I really think you saved me on vet bills too, because I'd only see the sports medicine vet maybe once a year, and you were there, pretty often. They're just wild all of a sudden. Hey, you two, come here, guys. Come here right now. I'm going to get one on my lap. Come here. I apologize. So professional, guys. So anyways, long story short, you remember Gus. You met him last time. Wild puppy. Yeah. So anyhow, you've done so much for me to help my business that I've just greatly appreciated that. And I think what I love most about it is that you love horses as much as I do. And that's your biggest goal, is to help horses feel better and be able to do their job happily for their riders. And you have a lot of high competitive clients, but you also have trail riders, and you worked on different kinds of animals, and you do so much more than just chiropractic. You do the saddle fitting, you do shims on saddle pads until their backs get healthy. You help people figure out all of that, along with the homeopathic stuff like the remedies, Nooks and Thuja and Arnica and all that is what you know as well. So over the years at MagnaWave, you have all those little machines to help you with your adjustments. And There's just so much that you've done over the years that I've watched you do. And another great thing is you give everybody homework, which I love. You give them leg stretches and neck stretches and all that good stuff to keep the horses feeling good. And I love that also. I want to make sure I didn't miss anything here. But I really felt like for me, getting my horses worked on regularly with you when the farrier came and also getting my body work done all at once, we were balanced and ready to go compete for another 5 weeks or keep us healthy enough to keep going. And because it's hard, like you always said about the mares, they really would drag their butts and be hard on their butt sister and Briscoe and such. And,
Yes, they
and you
did.
just help them. Yeah, and you just help them so much. So I'm really excited to get into talking about all this today. Another thing I love is Amy. I can't believe Amy's like 40 now, and that's amazing. And she does. Oh, I'm sorry, we don't want to say that. Amy's older now, and she does the business with you full time, correct?
Yes.
And you guys just go different directions and to handle all of your clients. So that's really
for the
awesome.
first 10 years or so, we worked together on traveling together, but then we got so busy that we needed to split up and cover more area and be able to have a day off once in a while.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. So that's worked out really well. And then you can log a little bit of downtime for you guys. Sometimes, not very often, but you find a way. So in addition to that, the most I would say is probably the thousands of horses that you've worked on in the last 20 years. That to me has been probably the biggest educator for you, is just all the horses that you've worked on over the last 20 years, would you say? In addition to all your...
yes, and I still learn something new every day. So horses teach me something new every day. Never think that you know everything, because they'll teach you that you're wrong.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. You're never stop learning. That's very, very true. So before we get into the business side of it, let's tell everyone a little bit about you. How long have you been into horses and barrel racing?
Well, I have been in horses since I was about 6 years old, and I barrel raced when I was a kid, and up until Amy started getting professional, and I had to sell my horses to buy her horses, and she unmounted me to take the horses that I had going. So then I just became the crew. Somebody had to take care of everything and everybody. And I'm not built for speed anymore. I like competing from the sidelines.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's understandable. So, yeah, and you guys traveled on the road for a long time too. I remember for a while there, you and Amy went out west to go rodeo. You had the RV and the little 2-horse. I remember those days
Oh,
too.
yeah.
Yeah, that was a lot of
Yeah,
fun.
she set arena records all the way across the country with Trek. I remember we went the farthest was Pecos, Texas, and she won the rodeo there and set the arena record. And that was pretty cool.
That was awesome. I remember all those days. Those are really good times. And Trek was probably one of your biggest inspirations, I would imagine, too, because she couldn't handle vaccinations. And isn't she a reason why you started working with Dr. Peggy Fleming out of Brooksville, too? That's how you guys. And then you left your corporate job. Yeah, you left your corporate job. What made you decide to go and leave the corporate world and get into chiropractic full time? Was it Trek? Was it wanting to do horses for a living? What was the motivation for your why?
Well, the first part was Trek. She's the reason that I ended up going all natural and having to figure out she had to be perfect, or you might as well not even load her in the trailer. If she had a little scratch on her leg, or if she wasn't feeling good, or if she was in heat, you might as well just stay home. But if she felt good, she would win the whole show, and sometimes by a half a second. So I had to learn a lot the hard way, because we even tried to sell her several times. Amy was in tears. I was in tears, because she was just a miserable mare, but nobody wanted her. So we had to figure out how to fix her. And so we figured out how to fix her and made her a winner. And then whenever Amy graduated from high school, I had the spare time on my hands, and what am I going to do? Because she was off on her own and didn't need me anymore. So that's about the same time Peggy started up her school, and I was like, yes, me, please. And so that's how I got started.
Yeah.
No regrets. I love it. And
Yeah. I agree. I think it's just been beautiful for you. I've watched you over the last 20 years really blossom too in your intuitiveness and your energy around animals and all of that stuff. Just see
Well, I
how,
think the more you see and the more you feel, you take that experience that, whenever you don't know, I didn't know what I didn't know 20 years ago, and I didn't know
that's
what
true.
I didn't know yesterday. So,
Mm-hmm.
with the experience of seeing all these different horses, lots of times now I can kind of see the future of your horse. And whenever I tell people to do the homework, every horse is different that I work on. And whenever I tell people to do specific homework for their horse, it's because I don't want to have that conversation 5 or 10 years from now that I told you so, and now your horse is retired and, or something else, that the things that I try to teach them is things so they don't need me anymore and they can go and win and have fun and I get to compete and cheer them on.
Yeah. Well, maybe not need you anymore, but maybe need you less. So,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
what you offer, chiropractic, isn't something just anybody can do. I mean,
Oh,
you've
no,
got to know that.
absolutely.
Yeah, you got to know the horse's
Yeah.
anatomy. Like I wouldn't want to adjust a neck or a hip or anything. But another thing I love about I've used different chiropractors before I met you, and I did not like for the big crack and pop kind of aggressive adjustments. I don't like them for
Yeah.
myself, so I definitely didn't like them for my horses. I felt like it made them more scared. Have a gentle approach to your body work, and I think horses like you, and they never fear you.
Well,
They're actually happy
everything
to
that
see you.
Peggy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Well, Peggy's only about 4'8" and weighs
Mm-hmm.
100 pounds, and all of her techniques have to, be gentle enough that a little person can handle. And she has developed all those things. So the things that she taught me is how to do it the easy way, putting the horse into a position to where it just kind of goes back into place and you don't have to have big pops and cracks and be dramatic about it. We can make everything go into alignment with ease and with respect. That's the most important thing. Is chiropractic doesn't have to be rough to be effective. It just has to be correct and precise and quick.
Yeah. So the point of chiropractic is obviously maybe not obviously. That's my question to you. The point of chiropractic, would it be for getting horses balance, for, the ease of stride or motion, just overall, just their fluidity of how they move? Is that what you're trying to do, is help keep them
Absolutely.
loose?
And teaching the horse to use their body correctly. But if we're trying to train a horse to use their body correctly, but it physically won't go correctly, just like us, a lot of people are stuck too. And if you don't fix you, you can't fix the horse because they feel your butt. And if your hips are out, they're going to feel that and they're not going to know what you're asking them to do. But if a horse,
Right.
especially when I go trail riding with my friends, if I'm riding behind these horses and I can see one hip is moving and one's not, okay, we got to stop for a minute because I need to fix that before we can keep going. But yes, if you can't pick up your right lead, and you can't pick up the left, if they pick up the left lead, or if they have a bad attitude in just one direction, there's usually a reason for that, and that's something I can help with.
That makes sense. Yeah, and I love that. So it really is amazing to me. You just see things so easily. And like you said, a lot of people don't walk behind their horses anyways. We get them out, we lead them and stuff. And I didn't even notice with Rocky when you pointed that out, when you adjusted him. I'm like, I've been looking at him for how long? And I
Oh,
didn't
that's
even
right.
catch that. Yeah, he was
Yeah,
uneven
and
with.
he's a
Mhm.
But then you get horses like him that have a big heart and he loves you. So he's going to try hard anyway. And
Yeah,
compensation made that one hip get really big and then the other hip was down here and flat. And
yeah,
so but that's because he tried anyway, but he had to overuse that one hip. And that's why that muscle kept getting bigger because this one was just over here lagging behind. So now
that's
that
right.
both sides are moving, then he
Yeah.
can level off and use his body correctly and develop those muscles correct.
I used to be able to feel that though when I trained horses. I think as I've gotten older and I have more aches and pains with my arthritis and my hip replacement, and
No,
I
you're
don't know,
too
I don't feel it.
It's because you're too close to him. He's your horse. I can't feel
Okay.
things on my own horse. Amy has to come down and check my horse for me because you get so used to your horse that you don't really
Yeah.
notice the subtle little things. It's like something happens one day and then, you don't see it if somebody doesn't see it for a month, then there's very obvious. But whenever you see it
Yeah.
every day or you feel it every day, it can happen slowly. And so you don't really
Yeah.
notice it.
That's true. I mean, like, I always felt he was a little stiffer on the right side than the left, but I've always known horses that aren't always ambidextrous, and maybe one side is a little stiffer. So I didn't think too much of it. He would take the lead. I'd have to set him up a little bit more for the right lead than the left. But like you said, I think he was just trying for me no matter what. But when you pointed that out, I was like, how did I not see that? But it's just your eyes are so educated from doing it for so long. And I don't walk behind him, but I feel like I should have saw it or felt it by even looking at him when I groom him, but I felt like I dropped the ball there. But like you said,
Well,
sometimes
no, I definitely look at horses different now than I did 20 years ago. You know, now whenever I look at a horse, I see the structure and the biomechanics of everything, and I can pretty much tell just by watching them walk around me what I need to go work on.
Right, right. Yeah, I love that. I think that's amazing. And so how often do you feel like you should see a horse for chiropractic work? You know, if they have an issue, maybe more often, but I know you used to like to see them like every month or every 6 weeks, 5 weeks, like, you know, what do you prefer?
It depends on the horse, how hard they're working, how hard they're playing. You know, usually the goofy geldings that are running and bucking and doing cartwheels in the pasture need it pretty regularly. And the competitive horses that are really working hard and going to rodeos every weekend, they need it pretty regularly. So those I try to keep on a 6-week program, because if they're ready before you ever load them up in the trailer, then you don't have to worry about it when you get there.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. And then I know you've done a lot of other things. Like you've been doing the MagnaWave since 2009, I believe. Is that right? MagnaWave?
Yep.
So a long time.
Yep.
And I always loved the MagnaWave for my mare's butts, because I felt like, you know, it was easier on you too. But I always felt like after you did their adjustments, the MagnaWave just helped them. You know, maybe does it help it last longer? It just gets deeper than your hands?
It does.
Or chiropractic?
It gets where my hands can't reach, and it makes the adjustments that I make last longer if I can relax all those muscles. So yes, it makes my job a little bit easier. I don't have to do as much as with my hands and deep tissue massage. If I can relax and release the muscles and do the MagnaWave on them, then that makes the adjustments last longer, and the horses enjoy it, especially older horses. Sometimes I'll do the MagnaWave only on an older horse just to make them feel good.
Oh, yeah. It is amazing. I've had you put it on me at times when you would come to the barn, and I always loved how it made me feel afterwards. So that's a good thing. And then LifeWave patches is something that I remember you would always patch my horses at super shows. You've done that since, like, do you still use LifeWave a lot? Or just
I don't use it a lot, because it's like acupuncture without a needle. And except you have to pay $5 a set for them, and my needles are a lot cheaper. So if I have to do, you know, if I need to do acupuncture, I'll just use a needle real quick, and you know, they're disposable. But for, you know, but yes, I like to share them with people.
Yeah, and you were
I like to share them because then, but you can take them with you, and I can, you know, I like for all of my customers to have them, because I can tell you exactly where on your horse's body to put them. Or if anything hurts, if you can point to where it hurts, you put the brown one where it hurts and put the white one opposite of it. And it takes away pain within seconds. So yes, I recommend them to everybody. I don't use them that much anymore, because I can do the same thing with my hands, and it doesn't cost me nothing.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. So one of my favorite things you also do, and I always have my clients talk to you about this, I'll send clients to you specifically for this reason, is saddle fitting. And also the shims that you'll put with saddles, because of horses, like you say, you can't ride on their spines. You don't want to sit on their spines. So having a saddle that fits is important. But when you have a bad back and their back's getting worked on, the atrophy or the top line's getting better, the muscles and you're working on them and they're getting healthier and stronger, obviously the saddle may not fit in 2 or 3 months, so you'd need a different saddle. So in the meanwhile, I know you've done shims for horses. So how do you feel about all of that? Is that just something that if you are working on a horse and you say, oh, the back doesn't look good, let me see your saddle, is that how it comes up? Or
yeah, I can look at a horse and tell you if your saddle fits by the way that their back looks. And so that's where that just takes me there. Every horse is different. And if I see the atrophy along the longissimus dorsi muscle, or the big holes right behind the scapula where the traps are supposed to be, then there's some times that, if it's just an atrophied back, but the saddle, if I use my imagination and if the muscles were there and the saddle would fit, then I can help it fit temporarily because I know you're going to ride them anyway. And so if we put the shims on them temporarily on top of your pad underneath the saddle, then at least you're not sitting on the bones and those muscles will start working. Because what happens is whenever you're sitting on the bones, then the back muscles are not working. It's like having a cast on your arm. You lose all those muscles that's underneath the saddle because they're not working. And so if I can get the saddle lifted up over the backbone where it's not sitting on the bone, but it's sitting on that big long muscles down each side of the backbone, then those muscles are going to build up. And there's also homework that I usually give along with this of working groundwork and doing certain things in the round pen or on a lunge line or on a golf cart to build the top line up without sitting on it as long with it. And most of the time within 30 days, I can see a difference. And if the saddle doesn't fit, then I recommend let's try to get the back built up before you go saddle shopping, and let's get a healthy back before you buy a new saddle and spend a couple $1,000s for something that's only going to fit, only going to fit a not healthy back. So I try to help people save money, and you don't need to go buy an expensive pad. And most of the pads that have shims built into it, they're in the wrong place. So because every horse is different, some needs to be right behind the withers and some needs to be behind the scapula. And some only need a short one, some need a long one. So it, it's really, it's customized. Yeah. So I try to make people not spend extra money.
Yeah. And I feel like there are things you can tell us to do on our own. Like if they wanted to see if their saddle fit, would they just throw it on the horse's back with no pad and just see if it sits level?
Yeah, and I teach everybody, if they are interested, how to check their own saddles. And that way, if I'm not around and they have another horse they pull out of the stall and they want to see if their saddle fits, then they know how to do it when I'm not there. And even building shims, I'll tell people how to make their shims to go down the horse's back. And, I'm happy my goal is to make the horse comfortable and where I'm not a saddle fitter. That's not really what I want to do. It's just something that I need to do to be able to do my job well. And so if I can teach everybody how to be a saddle fitter, that would be wonderful because then I don't have to do it anymore and I can just do the body work that I love to do.
Yeah, exactly. But like you said, they kind of have to go together. Yeah. So you do the MagnaWave that complements the chiropractic work, and then I know you do acupuncture. I just wasn't sure how much you promoted that because I wasn't sure on that. Is that something you do on a regular basis or?
No, it's not. I don't do it anymore for outside clients, just my own. Because the year after I graduated from school, they added added acupuncture to the definition of chiropractic medicine, which makes it illegal for me to do it. And because then I would be practicing veterinary medicine without a license. So I don't do it. I know how to, but I recommend going to see Dr. Peggy Fleming if somebody needs acupuncture.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. And then like you said, you have a lot of other things that you offer, whether it be the remedies or the other treatments. So when you've been doing this the last 20 years and thousands of horses, do you have any stories that just kind of stand out to you? Something that really made you happy to see, maybe a favorite story of a before and after that you just thinking of right now?
Yeah, the most recent one probably was about the first time I saw her, it was a mare. And you know how I love those wicked mares that have a nasty attitude, or not a nasty attitude, but it's just a big attitude. They pin their ears when you come up to them and they're really serious. And well, about 2 months ago, I met one of those. And she had been cowboyed by a bunch of cowboys that were out trying to work cows on her, making her a cow horse. She put them all in the dirt, and they were going to shoot her. They were going to shoot her. And this girl that I didn't know her until I met her that one day. I don't know how she knew the people that had her or what, but somehow she got her hands on the mare, and they gave the mare to her instead of having that way they didn't have to dig a hole or waste a bullet.
That's
so the first time I saw her, yeah, I know. First time I met her, as soon as I walked up to her, she pinned her ears and started stomping her feet like she was going to kill me. And she didn't want me to touch her. I couldn't get near her. So I just put my energy down low and walked up to her, and I got the MagnaWave out, because a lot of times when horses don't want to be touched, I can just drape the MagnaWave over their back, and it kind of breaks the ice, and then they just relax, and then I can go up and start doing some things. So I got to work on her. It took me about 2 hours, but I worked on her and did, what I could that day. And I gave the girl a lot of homework, bonding and trust building and telling her all about how to deal with an alpha mare and respect. Alpha mares don't want to be loved on. They don't want to be, because she wanted the horse to come up to her and let her kiss her on the nose and teach her tricks where she lifts her lip up and stuff. Said, this is not a goofy gelding. No. An alpha mare that wants to be respected.
Yeah.
They want to be respected by somebody who they respect. So you got to be an alpha mare if you're going to deal with an alpha mare. You got to treat them respectfully and kind, but fair, and don't take no crap. So I gave her a lot of homework, and we talked about it a lot. And so I was hoping I never had to go back there again because she was so bad. She could hurt me. And
you can afford that.
So 30 days later, she sends me a message and says, hey, when can you come back out and check her again? I was like, oh, okay. Didn't really want to, but I went back, but I did. I went back out there, and I got out of the car and went up to her, and I was so relieved. It was a totally different horse. She was respectful. She was nice. The girl did all of her homework. I was able to go over her whole body without having, I just did my normal alpha mare routine, just respectful, but get the job done and then let her go, but I adjusted her hips and I adjusted her back and walked all over. I had 30 days ago, I thought she had kissing spine. Her back was so bad, and I thought that's why she was bucking everybody off. Her back was so bad, it wasn't moving, and there was nothing I could do to make it move 2 months ago. But I adjusted it. Everything's moving, and she's happy now.
Yeah, and
so now she's on to the next step of, well, she's not riding her yet, but she's getting to that point where she probably will start riding her.
Yeah. So they've got the groundwork.
That made me happy.
Yeah, that is an awesome story.
Yeah.
That's going to feel good to you. I always love it when I can see a horse and rider be happier together. So it must really put a lot of joy in your heart when you can see a horse feel better and want to be around humans again, especially after people.
It changed her life. It gave her a life.
Yeah, they talk to you all the time. At first, it's like you said, quietly, subtly, but then they start yelling and screaming, and that's where they're just fed up because nobody's listening to them, and that's got to feel good to you to make them feel better. I love that.
Yeah.
That's a really nice story, which you probably have thousands of those, but most recently that's really a heartwarming one. I love that. So,
another one that's a good one. It was back from 2009. 2009, Lacey Childress from Foley, Alabama, and her horse Hummer won NBHA Open World in Augusta, Georgia, and I was there with them, and they were we were really buddies, and sorry. And
hey, nothing worse than my dogs.
So after they won World a few months later, they were not doing so well. They were hitting barrels. They just weren't doing good. And so she had a psychic talk to Hummer and says, why, what's going on? Why aren't you working for me? And he told her, he says, well, because back whenever we were doing so good, we did it because we loved it and it was fun. But now that it's too stressful and I don't like doing it anymore. And he said, and I miss the lady who rubs my butt.
Oh, that's so cute. I love that. It's really amazing what horses think of. Like, I know my clients, when they put their lessons here, the horses always know I give them cookies. So they literally watch me after their lesson and they nicker for me because they're like, okay, we did our job, Tina, give us our cookies. So they're like, I'm the grandma spoiler over here. So, but I
have a t-shirt that says treat lady.
But I think horses just know when your intentions are good. And I've always felt like horses love you because they know your intentions are to make them feel better. So they get excited when they see you coming. And that's awesome. He remembered you. Mm-hmm.
And
But barrel
that's why
races are
it's a
like
lot
that.
easier once I've worked on horses a couple of times. They get to know me, and it gets
Yeah.
easier and easier and less time, and I can just do
Yeah.
more feel good work rather than doing
Mm-hmm.
triage every time I see a new horse. So that's pretty
Yeah.
cool too.
That is awesome. The next valuable tip of what you said there was that the horse thought it wasn't fun anymore. And I try to remind people that all the time, because if you're
Hmm.
like fun when you go on a trail ride with your horse, or fun when you ride them at home, or fun when you're just exercising them, but then all of a sudden you're this serious, stressed out person at competition,
Yeah.
the horses will quickly associate that barrel racing is not good, because mom turns into a totally different person. And so I think we always
Yeah.
have to be thinking that we need to keep this fun for our horses to keep them wanting to do it, and maybe not go in
Yeah.
there. I remember going through a stage with Belle where she was hitting barrels, but I was in it to win it. I was going 1D to win it, and she was in it to win it. And we just started crashing barrels left and right. And so finally I was like, 3D clean, just 3D
Mhm.
clean. Let's go have fun. And then she'd win the 2D because I took all the pressure off, so it's like, you
Yes,
know what I mean? Sometimes you
that's
just have
right.
to meet in the middle, and find a
Well, a
happy
lot of
medium.
those big-hearted horses, they do love barrel racing and they want to
Yeah,
do it, but they don't like the
yeah,
pressure to do it. They want to do it because it's fun.
yeah, yeah. And they can get nervous
Bear
too.
still
So you
does
have
that.
to,
Bear will go make a run every time he comes out. He's not even fast enough for the 40 anymore, but he thinks he won the whole thing. He comes out
he
all
doesn't
bowed
know.
up and wanting his cookies.
That's right. That's right. And that's the thing. They don't know that they didn't win it. And as long as you're telling them they won it, they're not going to know no different. So
Hmm.
yeah, I
Yeah.
think that's really important to keep it fun for them too. So yeah, I
Yes.
think that's awesome. So I love those. Now I remember you guys have done, like, you do some big shows like state and such. Now when you do big shows like Florida State and stuff, and you're set up there and you're doing, uh, that's a little bit different adjustment when you're doing it for pre-race versus like when you're coming to someone's house and you're doing more. So is it a little bit different or a lot different? How does that work?
I do what I can, but
Mhm.
for especially the new horses, the ones that I've never seen before,
Mm.
then I do what I can and I get them adjusted. But I do like to check them again every day because it's been so fresh that most of the time you
Yeah.
go back out there and work them, it just goes right back to where it was stuck again because muscle memory. So
Yeah.
on the ones that I've worked on all the time, my regular
Uh-huh.
clients, I go there
Uh-huh.
because it's a 3-day show and it's rough on them, and I just do maintenance
Yeah.
every day and make sure they're ready for the next run. I think it's better to have them ready before you get there, before you pay the entry fee, rather than
Mm.
doing it at the show.
Happy
So I
show.
prefer that's why I don't work too many shows, but the 3-day
Yeah.
shows and the week-long shows where they're standing in a
Yeah.
10 by 10 stall and get all
Yeah.
stiff and stove up and come out
Mm-hmm.
1 hour a day, they need
Mm-hmm.
some maintenance and stretching and
Sure.
MagnaWave.
Yeah, the extra therapies. I think that's important too. Yeah, I love that. And one other thing I love that you do is when you're done, you always give us homework, which is nice. And you can tell when people have done their
Hmm.
homework when they haven't, because you can tell if their horse is not, if their legs are stiff, and you can totally tell
Their
who's
horses
been
tell
doing their
on them,
homework.
yeah.
Yeah. Busted. So yeah, yeah. So what are your service areas now? I know you do Florida. I know you do South Alabama. So do you try to, like, because you
Mostly
have
just
clients
in
everywhere?
Florida.
Just Florida.
Mostly just in Florida, yeah.
Okay.
And I go to North Florida and take my motor home about every 6 weeks, and I cover all the way from Live Oak and Lake City and Mayo across to Jacksonville and St. Augustine and everything in between.
Okay.
For about a week, I'm on the road doing that, and then the rest
Okay.
of the time, I'm mostly in Central and South Florida.
Okay. What are your basic rates now to come out to somebody's place? Is there like a minimum or anything like that?
Well, if I need a minimum to come to a certain area, or else I can
Mhm.
stop for just one horse if it's on my way to another place. I try to keep it where I can pay the bills without being ridiculously expensive and making everybody
Right.
pay for all the traveling. So
Yeah.
living, down here, like you're 4 hours away from me. So that's why I do it
Right.
in the motorhome when I come up there. And
Yeah.
so try to stay efficient so I can be affordable. But I charge $100 a horse and then $50 trip charge. So if you have
Okay.
one horse, it would be 150. But if you have 5 horses, it would be 500 plus the $50 trip charge.
Right.
And so
Right.
trying to get people to get together, then they can split the trip charge.
Yeah, have a barn day or something like that. Have friends haul
Mm-hmm.
over. That's a smart way to do it. Yeah. So that's a
Yeah.
great way to do it. So good to know. So yeah, when you get back up here in 5 weeks, we'll check Rocky's butt again. So, or 6 weeks when you come back.
Yeah, sounds
So
good.
we'll check him. Yeah. And then, do you feel like what you do, how does that tie in with farrier and veterinarian? Because I've seen a difference with farrier with like a horse that's barefoot. When they're balanced, their feet stay more balanced.
Mhm.
When they're imbalanced, their feet wear differently. So that's
This
one benefit of.
absolutely has to go together. I love
Yeah.
working with the farriers, especially because they enjoy working with me because
Mhm.
whenever the horses are always like medial high on one foot
Mhm.
and I adjust the hip the next time they come back, they don't have to keep correcting the shoeing every single time that they come back because it's not doing it anymore. And that's on the barefoot horses. Whenever their hips
Yeah.
are off or their shoulders off, then they'll
Yeah.
be loading more on the outside or the inside and they'll wear off one side and then make it lateral imbalance. So
Yeah.
yes, working and
That,
especially underrun heels and long toes,
mhm.
that's
Mhm.
absolutely, you got to fix that or I
Mhm.
can't fix the top part.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And the vets
And then as
too.
far
Yeah.
as,
Every
yeah,
single
the
day I'm
veterinarians.
referring people to vets.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. So if you see a horse that, oh, this isn't chiropractic, maybe they do have a joint issue, you'll refer them on to the vet or something if they need something
That's
more.
it kind of goes back to what I was talking about. Whenever I have seen thousands of horses, and a lot of what I
Mhm.
see comes from my experience, and I'm seeing things in your horse that is going to cause problems if you don't address this. If you don't do this,
Mhm.
you're going to end up with the vet, and then that's going to be
Right.
a whole lot more expensive. So if you'll do
Yeah.
what I try to get you to do early, then we can keep it from getting to the point where you need to go get injections. And the worst thing that I hate to do is to say, I'm sorry, I can't help your horse anymore. You need to get a vet. And I can't, I'll
Mhm.
quit and not go back anymore if I can't help them. And I don't
Yeah,
want to get to that point,
absolutely.
but
Hmm. Yeah. Now, do you
that's where
feel
homework comes in.
diet's important with horses as well with what you do? Can you tell a
Hmm.
difference? Hmm. What do you
Oh, yeah.
recommend nutrition wise? Hmm.
Yep. Well, I try to stay with the natural. I feed all of mine forage.
Hmm.
And there is some that, may need supplements and like the dynamite, natural
Yeah.
supplements and that kind of thing is the
Hmm.
best that I can. And good quality hay is the most
Yeah.
important.
Right.
Is really more
Okay.
important than the feed. A lot of horses that I'm seeing that get, just like us, sugar is not a good thing. Sugar
Hmm.
causes inflammation. So
Hmm.
diet's very important to
Yeah.
not have the high sugar molasses feed and all that kind of stuff.
Right. Okay. Well, I appreciate that because it's a holistic view, the whole everything. You have to look at everything, how you exercise them, their fitness, all of that. If people are keeping their
Hmm.
horses fit enough to do their jobs and all of that. So I
Yeah.
really appreciate your time. I can't believe we've been talking for almost 40 minutes. So I don't want to take up too much more of your time. I feel like we could talk for hours about horses, but I feel like you've shared a lot of really good information about your services and the benefits for horses. What would you, how would you recommend people get a hold of you if they want? I know you're not really on Facebook a lot. Do you like text messages? Where should they find you? What's the
Yep.
best way?
Text messages are the best. Yeah, text messages are the best. I do post on Facebook when I'm
Hmm.
going to be coming to your area, when I'm going to be making a North Florida trip.
Okay.
But text messages are the best way, and that way I get you on the list and don't miss anybody.
Okay. That's perfect. And on your personal page, I believe I've seen your phone number, your cell number on your personal page.
It
Is it
is.
also on your business
Yep.
page on Facebook? Okay. So that's
Yes.
how they can reach
Yeah.
you if anybody's watching that
Yep.
it would like to have you come out. Okay, that's awesome. Well, Sheree, I've enjoyed our friendship. I've enjoyed what you've taught me over the
Me
years.
too.
I've definitely loved, all the horses that you've helped. It's just been a really fun thing to watch you the last 20 years. And a lot of my clients use you. And so I get to see the proof in the pudding all the time. So if anybody's watching this,
Yeah.
definitely reach out to Sheree. Yeah.
It's
Yeah, I
mutual.
really
I love
appreciate
you
it.
too.
Thank you. Well, thank you for your time tonight. And congratulations on your 40-year anniversary you just had. That's awesome. Was it 40
Yeah.
years?
Thank you.
Yeah.
44. 44.
44. Oh my gosh. That's amazing.
I know.
That's amazing.
I don't even
That's
think that I'm
awesome.
44 years old. I don't know how that happened.
I know. In my mind, I'm 30, but my body says you're closer to 60 now.
Yes.
Anyways, I appreciate your time tonight, and thank you so much. And we'll talk to you
Okay.
soon. All right.
All righty.
Bye.
Thank you.